Mass formation psychosis is the emergent phenomenon where large
Alert. Trust the government. Trust Pfizer. Do not question the government. Do not question Pfizer. Independent thought detected at your location. COVID safety engineers have been dispatched and are en route. Remain panicked. Prepare to be forcibly relocated to a voluntary quarantine camp until the government decides you are no longer a threat. And for your own safety, dispose of all weapons and other means of resistance. Thank you for your subservience. And remember, we're all in this forever. Trust the government. Trust Pfizer. Do not question the government. Do not question Pfizer. Trust the government.
Alrighty, howdy, everybody. How y'all doing out there tonight? Yes, tonight, Thursday, February 29th, year of our Lord, 2024, man. Glad to be back here again. Glad to have time to be able to do this. So, how you folks doing out there this evening? And it's still a little chilly in Texas, but you know what? It's about to warm back up. Man, I want to thank everybody for the red pills right off the bat there. We got Youngbird. We got Val Hall. Oh, let's see. Okay, well, that just went away. Ginger 45, good to see you out there. Val Hall, of course. All right, here we go, folks. So, got some stuff to unpack tonight. Got a few things, big stories going on down here in Texas. The wildfires for one thing, but we'll get to that later. Right now, I want to talk about, the border thing going on. We got Joe Biden and we got Trump here in Texas, all at the same time within about 300 miles of each other. Oh, and by the way, I am multicasting over on YouTube. In case you want to check that out, go over there and give it a like if you would. I'd appreciate it. Hopefully I won't get in trouble tonight. Trying to get some content over on that channel for some folks and get that channel up and running. But anyway, all right, back to it, folks. So, big news day in Texas. We got the two presidents. That sounds like something Q would say, doesn't it? The two presidents, man. We got President Trump and we got President Biden. Thank you, Miss Texas, for the sound check. Thank you very much. Judge 45, thank you for the can. Do appreciate that. It's going to be kind of interesting, folks. Because I'm on YouTube, I'm doing Fair Use Act. Okay, YouTube, all this stuff is Fair Use Act. So don't give me another strike, please. Here we go, folks. Let's get into it. I'm going to start off. I got a few stories for you. I want to start off with this story that just came out, 9 hours ago. The National Desk is covering this story, did a good job of it. And, we've got a lot of issues, not just here in Texas, but across this country because of the Biden administration. I'm coming straight out and saying it because of the Biden administration. I'll say it again. Yes, because of Biden, Joe Biden himself. All right. We were warned about what would happen if he got in office. And guess what? It's happening. It's happening. So, some stuff going to make you mad. Some stuff going to make you mad. Some stuff you're just going to shake your head at and go, no joke, Texan. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy what's happening out there. But I'm bringing it to you tonight here at DFW Studios with the Texan, man. And so glad you're out there. All right, because I got YouTube up. This is kind of weird. It's different when I got both Foxhole and YouTube going. I'm not used to it, so bear with me here, please. All right, here we go. Like I said, I know I'm kind of all over the place right now. I'm a little confused about how all this is working and what's broadcasting where. Q&A host, good to see you out there, Hoss. So, all right, here we go, folks. Let me see if I can get to the story here. We've got some real things going on across this nation because of the Biden administration. And we got Texas fighting like hell, man, to keep things, keep some law and order going on. We'll get into that here, and, man, I got some live footage of the president down here today, Trump, and the Joker in chief. Anyway, right now, man, I got to start this off. 9 hours ago, this migrant charged in death of Maryland toddler underlines effects of soft on-crime policies. I wanted to start off with this, lead the show out with this, and then it's going to make sense. There's always a method to my madness. You guys know that. So let's get this done. This is from the National Desk 9 hours ago.
Migrant charged in the death of a Maryland toddler is underlining the effects of soft on-crime policies. Sanctuary cities stand accused of making it harder for ICE to take custody of migrant criminals who are in this country illegally. The National Desk's Brad Bell reports from Maryland.
Last Friday, we were with ICE agents as they prepped for an early morning raid aiming to catch a non-citizen in the country illegally who'd been convicted of multiple crimes of violence, but who had been released by a local county despite an ICE detainer.
So what's happening right now is they've gotten to a point in time where they feel like they'll be able to get the guy that they are after. So we're walking down this residential street, approaching the house.
After some nervous moments and a search of the home, the immigration agents leave empty-handed and frustrated with the lack of cooperation from local county leaders.
This is a very dangerous person that is now running the streets.
Now, ICE is pointing to the case of this man, 25-year-old Nilson Granados Trejo, street name Gucci. They say he was ordered deported 2 years ago, that he has been arrested twice since in Montgomery County, but released from the county detention center each time despite ICE detainers. Now, he's charged with murder for his alleged role in the February 8th Langley Park street gang shootout, which led to the death of 2-year-old Jeremy Poo Caceres, the head of the local ICE field office last week, blasting the county policy of non-cooperation and warning of such possible consequences.
One of the major frustrations for me is when these executives are releasing egregious offenders back into the communities. How are they protecting the communities?
Today, Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich addressing the issue after meeting with ICE officials. promising better cooperation, including 48 hours notice when someone with a detainer is to be released. But he's sticking to his policy of cooperation only when the subjects of detainers do serious crimes.
And it's anything violent, anything related to sex offenses, child abuse, use of a gun or any other weapon. It's a pretty good list of things that we will deport for, and we will cooperate.
Hey, have you seen this new belt? It's
Yeah, so basically, what these sanctuary cities are doing? We know you've committed multiple crimes out there. We know you're illegal. You committed a crime coming into the country, and you've been deported before and everything. But hey, you know what? We're just gonna wait. We're just gonna wait until you commit a heinous crime. You know, we're just gonna wait. These sorry SOBs, man. These damn Democrats. They're not. I only like calling them Democrats because, like JD and I were talking about the other night, man. What the Democrat Party has been infiltrated and overrun with, what it was, what it is now. It's always had its issues, man, major issues, anti-American issues. But we're at a point now to where this is just a communist takeover and a plan to destroy America. And you destroy America from within, you can't destroy it from without. So these DAs and stuff all across this dang country are allowing this to happen. And God, it pisses me off because we're doing our damnedest down here in Texas to stop this, to stop the invasion that's happening. I don't care how you look at it. It's a freaking invasion. Get your dictionary out and let's have a conversation about the definition of invasion. How's that? So, man, it's a crazy news day down here in Texas. Like I said, I played that just to refresh you memory so anybody else that's never seen the show or anything knows that I've been talking about this for the longest time and the effects of an open border that Biden has had. Many, many effects, okay? Negative effects. So I opened the show up with that to lead to this. Texas-Mexico border makes headlines as judge blocks immigration law as Biden and Trump visit. Okay, so today, a federal judge in Texas, just hours before the cameras came out and all that for Biden and everything, has stopped. Let's see, there's Joe Biden, damn it, there's Donald J. Trump, Greg Abbott. This has got me confused, man. What's going on over here on the YouTube thing that I'm monitoring, the Foxhole thing? I'm used to the Foxhole thing. I'm not used to the YouTube thing. Plus what's happening in my screen and all this information I'm taking in. I'm sorry. I apologize, folks. I'll get used to it eventually. But anyway, so a federal judge today has overruled Governor Abbott on trying to protect Texas. Here we go with the Texas-Mexico border makes headlines as judge blocks immigration law. And, of course, we have appealed it, and we're fighting it. We are fighting it like crazy. There's a war going on down here, folks. I hope you understand that. It's a major war going on right here in Texas to protect the United States. All right, let's get this one done right here. Here we go.
Hunter, the Texas-Mexico border is making national headlines on multiple fronts today.
A federal judge blocked a controversial Texas border law that was set to take effect in just a few days. Meantime, both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump visited the border within the last few hours today. We'll start with that ruling on the law Governor Greg Abbott signed last year. The law would allow local and state law enforcement to arrest people who they believe crossed into Texas illegally. It would also allow judges to order migrants to be transported to ports of entry on the southern border, regardless of their country of origin. It was set to take effect on March the 5th. Today's ruling stops that from happening for now. The state immediately appealed the judge's decision. Today, Governor Abbott said he will not back down from his fight to protect Texas from what he calls President Biden's border crisis. Now, U.S. District Judge David Ezra issued the opinion and was appointed by former President Ronald Reagan back in 1988. He called the bill's constitutionality into question, saying it would conflict with certain aspects of federal immigration law.
Now, the judge made his decision in the hours before President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump both visited different parts of the Texas-Mexico border. President Biden went to Brownsville, while former President Trump went to Eagle Pass. That's about 325 miles between the two.
And coming up here shortly, folks, I got the skinny on that. Why Biden went to Brownsville, okay? So Trump goes to the hot spot, Eagle Pass, and Biden decides to skirt down to Brownsville. There's a reason why he did that, and we'll get to that here in just a minute.
Both the current and former president met with personnel who are working on the border and got briefings from officials who see what's happening at the border firsthand. President Joe Biden said he was told Border Patrol and other agencies on the border are working under tough conditions and desperately need more resources. Because of that, he says it's time for Congress to pass border legislation, and he criticized Republicans for preventing a bipartisan border bill from reaching his desk. President Biden also had a message for former President Trump.
Instead of telling members of Congress to block this legislation, join me, or I'll join you, in telling the Congress to pass this bipartisan border security bill. We can do it together. You know and I know. It's the toughest, most efficient, most effective border security bill this country has ever seen. So instead of playing politics with the issue, why don't we just get together and get it done?
Now, at the same time, former President Trump was joined by Governor Greg Abbott at the border. They spoke with people who are working the border as well. Former President Trump applauded the state's border enforcement efforts while criticizing the Biden administration.
This is a Joe Biden invasion. This is a Biden invasion over the past 3 years. I call him Crooked Joe because he's crooked. He's a terrible president, the worst president our country's ever had, probably the most incompetent president we've ever had.
Reporters asked Governor Abbott if he had a message for President Biden. He said he would tell him the same thing he told him when the president visited El Paso last year. Back then, Governor Abbott handed the president a list of strategies to secure the border. The governor says he's not heard from the president since then.
Stop jumping on me, would you? I hate when YouTube does that. Anyway, Joe Elaine, thank you for being over there at YouTube. If you'd hit that like button, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. I got it up and running, and I'm trying to work this out. This is crazy. I'm out of my comfort zone. Oh, I see you over there. Good evening. Much love, chat. Yeah. Thank you so much. So, all right. Like I said, I'm out of my comfort zone trying to work all of this at one time. It's not flowing so great for me. The delays are crazy between Foxhole and YouTube. And then how it changes my panel over here. Anyway, I'll quit crying about it. I know it just knocks me off my game a little bit. So anyway, all right. So I got the goods on this, folks. I got the goods on it. I'm sure some other people have been talking about it today, but man, it's been a huge story, just dominating the news cycle down here in Texas. Of course, when something like this happens, Joe Biden is so full of shit. I'm gonna come straight out and say it's so full of shit. Okay, there's a dude. Where did that go? Yeah, there it is. There's a dude, man, that he was on the inside. He was an ex-Border Patrol chief. All right, Biden administration fired him. He worked under Trump and other administrations, and he had never seen anything like this. And he was interviewed today, and you've got to see this interview. This is just crazy. He's going to call it out like it is, man, and tell you guys the truth. Why Biden went to Brownsville and didn't go to Eagle Pass, and why? Well, I'll just let him say it. How's that? All right, folks, here we go. Let's get this one up and get this one going. This is off Fox News Channel. Now, Biden, Trump make separate border visits. This is interesting. And then, hey, look, I got the whole, or pretty much the majority of the speech that Trump made down there. And to be honest and to be fair, okay, fair reporting here, I tried to get Joe Biden's speech. Every single channel, there was no audio for Biden. Gee, how convenient is that, huh? Trump's loud and proud, man. Audio's great and all that, but Biden, you couldn't hear a word he was saying. You could hear other people talking, but he's just mumbling down about the border and Trump. Now, they took snippets, these news articles did, or these news groups did, and bumped the audio on it, but they're just news snippets. All right? I wanted the whole thing like I'm going to play for you for Trump. I swear, that's the truth. I could not find one dang place that had audio good enough that I could bring to you. So we're just going to do it like this. We're going to have to do it like this. All right, here we go. Joel Lane over there on YouTube says Texas will do what's right to protect the citizens of the states. Shame on our president. That's not protecting American citizens. You are absolutely right, ma'am. You are absolutely right. Okay, here we go. Oh, yeah. We're going to get into that, Joel Lane. Biden wants this bill passed for Ukraine money. FJB. That's right. Fuck Joe Biden. So that's another thing about this bill that he's saying and blaming Republicans for, okay? He's saying that it's Republicans' fault that we can't secure the border. I'm going to let this guy break all that down for you, but Joe Lane is absolutely right, man. There's not just one bill. You know how they do it up there in D.C. They put all this pork in this, and then they go to push it through, and then they'll promote the one thing that sounds good, but there's so many other things behind it that are evil and destructive to America, okay? Hey, Valhall, you found it. Cool beans. Guys, hit that thumbs up over there on the YouTube channel, please. All right, here we go. This guy really breaks it down. Like I said, he was the man in charge, ex-Border Patrol chief, reacts to Biden's border visit. This is getting down to the nut cutting right here.
Let's bring in Rodney Scott. He served as Border Patrol chief under President Trump and later President Biden. In 2021, he says he was essentially forced out of his position by the Biden administration. Chief, good to have you with us on this interesting day when we watch two of your bosses, the former President Trump and the current president, I should say, Joe Biden, visit the border. What do you make of the locations that they are going to be in today? Brownsville and El Paso.
Thank you for having me on, Martha. I think it is very telling. Once again, Joe Biden, it's a photo op, so they don't want big groups of illegal aliens in the background. They wanted to go to someplace slower, but there's an unseen aspect as well. Brownsville is where most of the non-governmental organizations that provide shelter and services to illegal aliens after they cross, that's their home base, if you will. So he'll get to talk to them. And you notice there's nobody from Texas really there. So President Trump is meeting with the governor of Texas. I think he's going to hear what does and doesn't work with Operation Lone Star, what the states had to put into this. And it's telling that the Biden administration is trying to, tear down and the border infrastructure that's being put up in Texas, which mirrors a lot of what U.S. Border Patrol was doing under multiple prior administrations, not just the Trump administration. It's really it's funny. These are polar opposites of border security concepts and ideas.
I wonder when President Biden is speaking to these non-governmental organizations there, if they will talk to him about the problem of human trafficking at the border and the fact that children come across with a phone number and American taxpayer dollars are essentially used through Border Patrol to hand them off to people, and they have no idea whether or not these people are human traffickers or members of their families. Can you elaborate on that? Do you think they will talk to him about that? Will they want to take that opportunity to tell him about it?
Absolutely not. And here's the reason. It doesn't benefit either one of the political talking points. One of the problems with the Senate bill that no one's talking about is it had $1.4 billion more dollars for those NGOs, and it did not do anything to attack child trafficking. It didn't do anything to fix the Flores Agreement that mandates the government release juveniles into the U.S. as quickly as possible. Those are things that needed to be addressed. Unfortunately, my time in the Biden administration, we weren't allowed to talk about anything like that. The entire focus was on expediting processing and avoiding any negative optics of people backing up on the border. Get as many people in as you can. Every prior administration, to include obviously the Trump administration, was focused on deterring illegal activity, preventing the crime in advance, and therefore protecting those children. They won't talk about that in Brownsville today.
I heard Jackie say earlier, this is a photo op for President Biden, and it really is.
You know what the man just said? The man just said every administration that he worked under prior to this has done everything they can to control that border, except for this one.
It's sad that any president shouldn't want to hear the brutal truth of everything that's going on, to really take advantage of this moment. Obviously, it's a very important electoral issue for him, and the more he understands and actually sees, the better. I want to go back, actually. This is a throwback to Bill Clinton, President Bill Clinton in 1995 in his State of the Union address. I want to play this and get your reaction from where we were then and where this Democrat president is now. Watch.
We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Rodney, what a fascinating, stark contrast between these two Democratic presidents.
It's unbelievable. And I'll just remind all your viewers, the chief of the Border Patrol sits 2 blocks away from the White House. Anytime that President Biden really wanted to know what was going on, he could just call that chief over and get a brief.
The chief of Border Patrol sits 2 blocks from the White House. Did you know that? That was news to me when I saw this report. I didn't know that. The chief of Border Patrol sits 2 blocks from the White House. This guy right here just dispels all the excuses of Joe Biden. And, man, he just rips him a new one. I love it.
This administration does not do that. Under the Trump administration, visits to the White House were routine. And I can tell you, even back under the Clinton administration, I was a young agent, but I briefed Janet Reno in Imperial Beach, California, and explained to her what was going on the border. They asked for our advice. They took our advice. They took actions. This administration has walled off all the experts, and they're doing their own thing, and it's all about letting more people in. Not secure the border, unfortunately.
It's so interesting, Jake. Chief Owens, the current chief who took over after you. All right. Okay. I just want to show everybody President Biden is on camera right now. He is being shown some things by Chief Owens. And you make a great point, Chief Scott, excuse me, that anytime any president wants to speak to the chief of the Border Patrol, he can just go a few blocks away and say, look, how many drug traffickers are we letting in? How many human traffickers are we letting in? How do we get our arms around this fentanyl issue? Tell me what your folks tell you. But, unfortunately, Chief Owens has to resort to tweeting pictures of gang members and showing the different gang tattoos that they're wearing on an almost daily basis to get his message out. What do you say as you look at this image here?
Yeah, it's actually quite telling. And again, you're seeing Chief Owens and then the sector chief, Chief Chavez there. But it's for the cameras. The reason, and I hate to get political, but I believe the reason that the Biden administration is down there is if he got that briefing in the White House, there'd be no cameras. There'd be no show, right? But they know what it takes to secure the border. We handed them the most secure border in the history of the United States and a roadmap to keep it that way and make it even better. Through 94 executive actions, President Biden completely destroyed border security. And contrary to popular dialogue, he could reestablish a significant part of that by just, with the stroke of a pen, putting those measures back in place. I hope he listens to the men and women down there. I hope they're free to speak openly.
Joe Lane, yeah, and that's the ex-Border Patrol chief saying that that's what they were told to do, was to process as many and release them into the United States, not to secure the border. Joe Biden told them to process as many, or the Biden administration, and release them into the United States. We all know that's exactly what's been going on. Let me back that up a little bit right there. Watching this fool fumble around out there, man, it's like it's almost like I expected him to fall down any second. I mean, honestly. And the way people were just like watching him, especially this cat right here. I don't know who this guy is, but I think he is supposed to be watching for Joe to fall down and probably intervene and pick him back up or something. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But, yeah, that's what they've been doing. They haven't secured this border one bit. The Biden administration has not. And anyway, hey, man, I got a lot to report on this tonight, so let's let this roll.
Just with the stroke of a pen, putting those measures back in place. I hope he listens to the men and women down there. I hope they're free to speak openly. But I can tell you from my experience in the Biden administration, that was not the norm. If they speak freely, they'll probably be out of a job.
Is that what happened to you?
That is exactly what happened to me. I was followed orders to a certain extent, but I gave feedback and I told them where I thought things were going to go wrong, and they did not listen to any of the advice we gave them whatsoever. So I was reassigned, and I chose to retire and speak out instead.
Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Chief, is on this trip as well today. And he said, I believe earlier today, that the gains that have been made, if you can call it that, or the slight drops that we've seen in numbers of people crossing in certain areas is thanks to the Mexican government. Is that who you would think in this situation? He did not mention Governor Abbott and the controversy that has happened between the governor and the White House over the governor's efforts to just do whatever he can to block people from getting into his state.
Yeah, so typical of Secretary Mayorkas, there's partial truths, but it leaves out the bigger picture. So you need to look at the entire southwest border. The vast majority of illegal immigration has now shifted to Southern California, which is a sanctuary state, and into Arizona, where they have a governor that's been tearing down some of the infrastructure that prior governors put in place. Texas, the numbers have dropped dramatically. Now, overall, the numbers have dropped somewhat. And yes, when Mexico enforces their own laws, then we actually see less criminality at the border and less illegal entries. If you go back about a month or so, Pompeo, I believe Blinken went down to Mexico and actually asked them to help out a little bit. Mexico's been very open. They would much rather have Biden be the president than Trump. So they're going to step up some of their enforcement currently. But we should not be exporting our national security. Border Patrol should be empowered to arrest people crossing the border, and we should hold them in custody or outside the country until their case is adjudicated. It's common sense. Right now, we're relying on another country to slow down the flow. But guess what else that means? They get to pick and choose. That allows Mexico and the cartels to pick and choose who enters this country instead of the president that you see on that screen right now.
We have hundreds of
Okay, what that man just said, these other countries are picking and choosing who enters our country, right? In conjunction with the cartels, of course. And like Trump said, man, they've opened up their prisons. They've opened up their mental institutions and everything. And that's what's coming across this border. Criminals and, that's not the best and brightest. The man just told you that. He was the patrol or border patrol chief, okay, at one time. And he had to step down. Because, he was calling out the BS under this administration. He was the Border Patrol chief under many administrations.
Thousands of people who have come into the country who are known gotaways, who were counted by Border Patrol officials who, saw them get away. And then, I don't know, what's your best guess at how many people are in this country who got away who we don't know about?
Yeah, so the unknown is a huge, but I do want to focus on what you just said. So I believe Chief Owens just tweeted out they've documented over 120,000 gotaways just this fiscal year. But that means there's been over 1.8, almost 1.9 million under the Biden administration. But it takes...
And that's the ones we know about.
Border Patrol agents being out in the field, manning cameras, manning sensors, looking at footprints to document those known gotaways. And unfortunately, the numbers crossing right now, the vast majority of agents are stuck inside processing. South Texas specifically and much of New Mexico don't have a lot of technology to document those crossings. So the unknowns are off the chart. There's no way I could estimate that for you, but it's clearly in the millions.
It's incredible. We're just watching the president as he speaks to some of these border officials. We saw a few moments ago, former President Trump was addressing some border officials as well. Got some big smiles from them as he landed in El Paso, and we're going to be hearing from him very shortly as well. But let me ask you this, Chief. The legislation that they tried to pass on Capitol Hill, the Border Patrol Council came out and basically supported it. The Union Border Patrol side, they supported that legislation, and it was shot down. Did you support it, and would it have made Americans safer if it had passed?
No, I did not support that bill. And let's be clear about the legislation, because there were two pieces of legislation, and the first one is not being talked about very much. The House passed H.R. 2,
right,
which was a good border security bill. It went to the Senate. They refused to act on it. The bill we're talking about now out of the Senate, it had some good provisions in it, changing some of the asylum processes. But unfortunately, it normalized a level of criminality that's unfathomable. Also, for their provision for the emergency authority, if you will, the numbers were way too high. It gave you the feeling that you could close down the border, but without the capability. It also mandated that U.S. Customs and Border Protection accept 1,400 illegal aliens a day through ports of entry. That baseline's at 500,000 a year. That bill was full of all kinds of issues and problems. I did not support it. I can't speak to why the Border Patrol did. A Border Patrol union, not the Border Patrol.
Yeah,
other than the fact that they are looking for any relief they can possibly find right now, and they might not have been looking at the other provisions.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think that just the increase in money for more Border Patrol would be attractive to the Border Patrol Union, because their folks are under so much stress at this border. And as you point out, they can't really do the job that they were hired to do. They're busy processing. But one of the conflicts there is that it appears that this administration.
This woman is so full of it. She is. And I don't think she appreciates the gravity of the situation and what this man is saying to her. And she sounds like she's making excuses for the Biden administration. That's just my opinion, though.
Wants to hire more Border Patrol so that they can get people into the country and processed more quickly. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate. That's consistent with every conversation I had with the Biden administration while I was still working for them. And that's the problem with throwing more money at this. The problem is catch and release. As long as we're releasing people into the United States immediately after they've been arrested by the Border Patrol, this flow is going to exceed Border Patrol's capabilities to actually do interviews, to vet people, figure out who they are and why they're coming here. And we're going to have more cases like the Lincoln Riley. And we don't want that, right? The border security is supposed to be vetting people, making sure we know who's coming into the country. Just throwing more agents and money at it won't work. This was created by executive action, this crisis. It could be fixed by executive action.
You know, I watched another piece of video. We showed that video of former President Clinton a little while ago. And I should mention we're about to see former President Trump in just a moment here. I can tell that there's a lot of cameras moving around on the shot where he is. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But, you know, I listened to what President Obama said in an address from the White House. And he talked about the need to return people immediately who are crossing into the country. How did this narrative get so far away from that? And answer that, if you would, sir, while we watch this shot of former President Trump arriving in Eagle Pass.
Sure. And honestly, I think people's compassion just got hijacked, and this administration got influenced by this extreme left. I spent a lot of my time in California early on in my career having conversations with both Democrats and Republicans, and border security was not controversial. Immigration policy, which is separate, that gets a lot of debates, but border security is just about knowing who and what enters your home, our national country, or our national home. This administration just kind of went completely off script, surprised even myself about how just dedicated they were to an open border.
Rodney Scott, former U.S. Border Patrol chief, thank you very much. If you stay with us while we watch this, we would appreciate it. Hey, everyone.
We'll kill that right there. Yeah, so you heard it from the dude that was in charge, man. He got ousted by the Biden administration for telling the truth and questioning too much stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I'm doing my best tonight. I really am, to bring you an unbiased view of this and get both sides of it. While I know, I guess you can call it biased. I got my, I got my opinions. But honestly, that was factual what the man just said. Okay, all that was plain out fact about how the Biden administration changed the policies, killed every policy that Trump had put in place, and now he's down there. And like I said, I tried to find a good audio video. Video's great. Audio totally just sucked. Couldn't find one of Joe Biden, and I looked at like 6 or 7 of them, and for some reason they got that audio turned down so low, and only the snippets that the mainstream media wants you to hear have good audio. But I didn't just want to bring you snippets, okay? So anyway, so I'm forced to do this here and have Trump's border speech. Greg Abbott will explain to you a few things too when he gets to the mic and talks. So with that, let's see. I'm going to be killing the YouTube feed here shortly. Right after this, I'm going to go ahead and kill the YouTube feed. So anyway, let's do this right here. It is lengthy, but I tell you what, it's great. It really is. It's stuff that you guys need to hear. Because you know how the mainstream media will take snippets and of Trump and snippets of Biden, and Biden is just totally blaming Trump and you and I for what's happening down there, just to get sneak in that Ukrainian money like Joe Elaine was talking about. Absolutely, trying to sneak this under and blame us, or sneak that money under to Ukraine to fund that war to get more money laundering, and you know what that's all about. Anyway, here's. Like I said, here's the meat and taters of it all. Let's get down to the nut cutting on this right here. With Trump border speech, former president and Texas Governor Abbott on immigration full news conference. There's some good stuff, man. A lot of people get to speak.
If you look at Arizona, they haven't done anything there. Governor hasn't done a thing, and the governor in California hasn't done a thing. People are flowing through there like nothing, but Texas is very secure, and it's going to be even more secure by the time you finish, which will be soon. And I just want to thank some friends of mine. Brandon Judd has been a friend from day one. He knew what we were all about and knew what we were saying and doing, and I think we were ahead of our time. And General Thomas Sulzer was somebody that was always right there and understands this Texas military department about as well as you could have. I think he understands war, because that's what you're in. You're in a war. And William Mike Gorby, you know who he is, and he's been fantastic. It's just an incredible group that you've put together, fortunately. I might ask Brandon to say a couple of words, because right at the beginning we were into it. We saw what was happening, and the governor was there, and then he really stepped it up. It's been amazing. I came when I was lucky enough to receive his endorsement. I endorsed him also, and very proudly endorsed him. And a lot of things have happened in the last little while, but this is an incredible operation. Brandon, would you like to say a couple of words, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I want you to know, your agents, my agents, they're mad as hell. Absolutely mad that President Biden went to Brownsville, Texas, rather than going to Arizona, rather than going to San Diego, California, rather than coming to Eagle Pass, Texas, which has been the epicenter. What President Trump has seen right here is he's seen how his policies have worked, but he's also seen how he can expand upon those policies once he goes back into the White House. He has seen how Governor Abbott has been able to use his policies to secure this specific area, the epicenter of the last 2 years of the illegal border crisis that we have had to endure. And your agents, President, they are pissed. Border Patrol agents are upset that we cannot get the proper policy that is necessary to protect human life, to protect American citizens, to protect the people that are crossing the border illegally. We want to protect them as well. And we can't do that because President Biden's policies continue to invite people to cross here. Thank goodness we have a governor like Governor Abbott. Thank goodness we have somebody that's willing to run for President of the United States. Forgo everything else that he's been.
And Peter Miles says, I got to pause this real quick. I thought it was interesting that Governor Abbott met with Trump after, or rather than Joe. Yeah, well, kind of knew that was going to happen, to be honest with you. But Governor Abbott's going to blast Joe Biden here in just a minute. Hang on here, man. This is good stuff, folks. A lot of information in this that you need to know.
And doing to serve the American people. President, thank you.
The reports have come out, and we've been covering them, and everybody's been. And I spoke to the parents of an incredible young lady, and you saw her the other day. You saw what happened the other day in Georgia. And the parents are devastated. They're incredible people. But this is a Joe Biden invasion. This is a Biden invasion over the past 3 years. I call him Crooked Joe because he's crooked. He's a terrible president, the worst president our country's ever had, probably the most incompetent president we've ever had. But it's allowing thousands and thousands of people to come in from China, Iran, Yemen, the Congo, Syria, and a lot of other nations. Many nations are not very friendly to us. He's transported the entire columns of fighting-aged men, and they're all at a certain age, and you look at them and say, they look like warriors to me. Something's going on that's bad. Now the United States is being overrun by the Biden migrant crime. It's a new form of vicious violation to our country. It's migrant crime. We call it Biden
It's organized crime is what it is.
migrant crime, but that's a little bit long. So we'll just leave it. But every time you hear the term migrant crime, you know where that comes from. Allowing thousands and thousands and actually millions and millions of people to come. Could be 15 million, could be 18 million by the time he gets out of office, because hopefully the biggest risk we have is 9 months. That's a long time. Right. A lot of bad things can happen. I always say in speeches and rallies, it's if you take the 10 worst presidents in the history of our country and you added them all up, all of the problems, all of the lousy jobs they've done, you can add them all up. It's not as bad as this one man has done for our country. What he's done to our country is he's destroying our country. We were just talking before. The general was saying, he can't believe what's happening. He can't believe it. It's so sad. Last year, almost half of all ICE arrests were criminal aliens charged for more than 33,000 assaults, 3,000 robberies, 6,900 burglaries, 7,500 weapons crimes. This is all migrant crime. 4,300 sex crimes, 1,600 kidnappings, and 1,700 homicides and murders. These are the people that are coming into our country. And they're coming from jails, and they're coming from prisons, and they're coming from mental institutions, and they're coming from insane asylums, and they're terrorists. They're being led into our country. And it's horrible. It's horrible. And, you know, I know many of the leaders of these other countries that are doing it. And it's not just South America. It's all over the world. The Congo, a very big population coming in from jails from the Congo. You look at the jails now, you take a look at the jails throughout the region, but more importantly, throughout the world. They're emptying out because they're dumping them into the United States. And these guys try and make like, oh, isn't it wonderful? They don't have a clue. I think they're looking for votes. They're looking for something. Nobody's really been able to tell me how anybody could want it. You know, you're always in business. You always want to understand the other side. You want to figure it out so you can do something that's good or bad, depending on what you're looking for. But nobody can explain to me, because everybody I speak to says how horrible it is. Nobody can explain to me how allowing millions of people from places unknown, from countries unknown, who don't speak languages. We have languages coming into our country. We have nobody that even speaks those languages. They're truly foreign languages. Nobody speaks them. And they're pouring into our country, and they're bringing with them tremendous problems, including medical problems. As you know, we had Title II, and we had different things to solve that problem, but they've terminated all of that. Even the judge couldn't believe it. The judge said, no, you can't do that. It would be horrible to do that. And he let it go. But he said in 6 months it expires, and it expired, and that's it. So I just think you're doing an incredible job. Just 1 week ago, a beautiful 22-year-old nursing student from Georgia was barbarically attacked, almost unrecognizable, while she was out on her morning run. She was a morning run. She was doing keep herself in shape. She was a beautiful young woman. She was a great person, best nursing student there was. I spoke to her parents yesterday. They're incredible people. They're devastated beyond belief. But she was beautiful, just so beautiful in so many ways, and brutally assaulted, horrifically beaten, kidnapped, and savagely murdered. The monster that charged in the death is an illegal alien migrant who was led into our country and released into our communities by crooked Joe Biden. He's crooked. I took the name away from Hillary because she's no longer relevant, I guess. She was terrible, but what he is doing is just unbelievable. Joe Biden will never say Laken Riley's name, but we will say it and we will remember it. We're not going to forget her. It's been just a horrible story that we've had to live with for the last few days. It's hard to believe. And her parents are just, they can never be the same. Great people. Just 4 days ago, an illegal alien in Louisiana was arrested for brutally raping a 14-year-old girl while holding a knife to her throat. And he then allegedly robbed a man who was getting out of his car in front of his home and repeatedly stabbed him in the face, in the back, in the face many, many times before police found this person standing in the middle of a street, all covered with blood, standing over the blood of the man he was attacking. Last year, a sadistic illegal alien criminal who was released into our country by Joe Biden was arrested for raping an 11-year-old girl and strangling her to death in Pasadena, Texas. And shortly before she was murdered, she texted her father that someone was knocking at the door. He arrived home from work and found his daughter's body stuffed in a laundry basket underneath the bed. Horrible. Crooked Joe is the blood of countless innocent victims. It's so many stories to tell, so many horrible stories. 3 years ago, we had the most secure border in history. Brandon was saying it. The general was saying it. We had the most secure border, and people weren't coming because they knew they weren't going to get in. And we weren't promising free education, free medical, free everything. I mean, all the promises that are made, no wonder they come. I mean, you look at what this Governor Newsom from California, isn't that his name, Newsom? What he's done to California is unbelievable. People are pouring in. They think they're going to get medical aid. And our soldiers, our vets aren't being taken care of. But people that come into our country illegally are. We ended catch and release. We built 571 miles of border wall, much more than I promised I'd build. And in addition, we purchased another 200 miles, and they sold that.
For the folks out there that have heard Trump say this stuff before, yes, he has, but he's at ground zero. He's saying it now, okay? Or he said it earlier today. And other people are going to speak. And like I said, if you put this whole show together, it'll make a lot of sense to you. Like I said, there's always a method to my madness. So if you watch this show from beginning to end, you'll see how it makes sense. But Abbott's going to speak, and trust me, as soon as this video is through playing, then I'm going to kill the YouTube feed.
Much of it for 5 cents on the dollar, and it's the best wall, the same wall that you're using, because the governor's now building a lot of wall also. And it works. Walls work. Walls and wheels, I always said. It's one thing never gets obsolete, a wall and a wheel. Everything else is obsolete about 2 weeks after you come up with it. And we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers to take care of our border. We had the safest border in the history of our country. And now, outside of this area where Texas has done an amazing job, and in a pretty short period of time, they're going to have it all covered. They have just been incredible. The operation that they showed me is nothing less than incredible. And I'll say this, it's a military operation.
Hey, folks.
Oh, they added commercials. These dirty dogs. And look who wait a minute. Look who they threw up there on the commercials. Oh, ironic. No.
I mean, we have this is like a war. It's a military operation. So we had remain in Mexico. Remember that? You can't come into our country, and Mexico agreed to it. And I'll tell you someday, I'll tell you why. Safe third agreements, asylum bans, Title 42, and rapid removals. But Title 42 was so important. Rapid removal so important. But the best was remain in Mexico. You stay in Mexico. We had catch and release in Mexico. We had catch before that. It was catch and release a criminal, and they released him in the United States. We had no more catch and release. Our catch and release was we released him in Mexico. And if you broke the law, we caught you, we deported you, or we did something else. But we were doing a great job. And That's where it stood. And then we had an election that we ended up getting many millions of more votes than we did. We did much better in 2020 than we ever even thought about doing in 2016. And very bad things happened. And from that moment on, it was a whole different ballgame in Texas and all over. But the governor in Texas picked up the ball, and they've done an incredible job. And I'll tell you, it's an honor to be here. I brought some people here, some executives from New York, because they're marveling at it too. And you're doing your job. Now we have to find out what's going on the side, each side, because Arizona's not doing their job. You have a Democrat, liberal, or more than that, governor that probably doesn't want to do anything. So people are just pouring in through Arizona, and they're pouring in through the beautiful state, the once beautiful state, still beautiful, I guess, but they have a lot of crime and a lot of problems, California, because the governor's not doing his job in California. He's doing a terrible job. He talks a good game. You know, he talks about how wonderful things are, but he's wrong. And they have a big outflow of people that pay taxes, people that don't commit crime. They're leaving. A lot of them are leaving. So I just want to thank the governor. I want to thank this incredible group of talent behind me. And we just went through something very, very special. We did a tour, and we did it through all sorts of cameras. They're all over the place. I don't know. They're in the sky. They're in satellites. They're on the top of those light poles. They're all over the place. And you really have it done. And I'm very appreciative of it, Governor. You did a great job, and you're my friend. And it's an honor to have your support and your endorsement. And likewise, me to you. Thank you very much. Great to be here. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you, President Trump, for being back in Texas. You being here shows that today is a day of an extraordinary contrast. We have President Trump back in the state of Texas, literally on the border itself, a place that he's been to many times, talking about all the things that he's done to secure the border. At the very same time, we have President Biden down in Brownsville, Texas, which was an obligatory visit by him. He'd never been to the border. In fact, I don't think he's on the border itself right now. He's in some sanitized location in the Brownsville area, not seeing the razor wire that Texas has put up around Brownsville. And he announced that he was going to Brownsville after it was already known that President Trump was coming to the state of Texas. It just goes to show that Biden does not care about either Texas or the border and what's going on.
That's the shame of it all, man. That's the shame of it all. Now, what I was talking about earlier, Biden goes to the most secure part of Texas down around Brownsville, right? He only went shortly after Trump announced he was coming to Texas. I mean, if anything, like it was said, Trump got Biden's ass up and got him down here to the border because, we all know it's a political grandstanding, and we all know what it's about. But yeah, Trump is down here at ground zero, man, and he goes to Eagle Pass. There wasn't no way he was going to face off with Donald J. Trump, especially on this issue right here. So anyway, trying to draw attention away from Trump and what he's doing is all this is about because of the election coming up. Trump's kicking his ass, and this just drives me nuts, man. This just really drives me nuts that POS would come from D.C. down here to face off with Trump while hiding from Trump at the same time.
About either Texas or the border and what's going on. As a result, you see a disaster. The United States of America is dealing with more deadly consequences than we have in our entire lifetime because of Joe Biden's policies on the border. And it did not have to be this way. As President Trump just talked, there were 4 policies that he put in place that led to the lowest illegal border crossings in about 4 decades. The end of catch and release, the Title 42 policy, the Remain in Mexico policy, and building the border wall. All Joe Biden had to do to secure the border was to keep in place what President Trump put in place in the first place. But instead, what Joe Biden did, he signed executive orders eliminating all of the effective policies.
That's something that, folks, you got to remember. He's telling the truth right there. We had the border secure. Trump had the border secure. All of his policies, all the funding, all the everything. building the wall and all that. And it was all scrapped when Joe Biden came into office and through executive order stopped every single policy, all the funding and everything for the border wall. Now Joe Biden is down here in Texas, of all places, telling us that we need to get on board with him, and because he doesn't have the authority until these bills are passed and all that crap to secure the border. And it'll be the most secure border in the world. God, this makes me mad.
But instead, what Joe Biden did, he signed executive orders eliminating all of the effective policies that President Trump put in place. And then Joe Biden did something even worse. Joe Biden lied to America when he told America that he needed Congress to pass laws for him to be able to do something about the border. Because there are 3 laws that Congress has already passed that are on the books right now that Biden could and should enforce. One is a law that requires the Biden administration to deny illegal entry into the United States, like what Texas is doing right here and like what President Trump did. He's not denying illegal entry. President Biden is aiding and abetting illegal entry. The second law requires the president's administration to detain anybody who does get here illegally. Biden is not detaining them. He's releasing them across the entire country. The third law that Congress already has on the books is a law that requires the Biden administration to build border barriers like what Texas has built, like what President Trump has built. And Biden not only is not building any borders, Biden is using every tool that he can to tear down the borders that Texas is putting up in our state. And because what Biden is doing has endangered our country, as President Trump was telling you the stories, not a week goes by without an American either losing their life, being raped or assaulted by somebody that Biden has allowed in our country illegally. The fact of the matter is, because of Joe Biden's policies and the more than 8 million people who have crossed the border, the United States of America is being invaded. And because Joe Biden is not doing his job to step up and secure the border, Texas has invoked the authority provided to us in Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution to declare an invasion and for Texas to defend ourselves from the crimes that are being caused by Joe Biden. Very quickly, here's what Texas is doing. Texas is the only state in the history of America to build our own border wall. And we did not reinvent the wheel. We're just building the very same wall that President Trump put up. Second, we deployed those big orange buoys into the Rio Grande that are effective at denying illegal entry. And Joe Biden filed a lawsuit to try to put a stop to it. Even though that lawsuit is tied up in the courts right now, those buoys remain in the Rio Grande River as we speak right now. The third thing is we have tremendous members of the Texas National Guard led by General Seltzer. And General, thank you. And also I want to take this time to thank Martin Freeman from the Texas Department of Public Safety and Mike Banks, where we have our own border czar. Mike Banks has spent more time as the Texas border czar in one day than the United States border czar has spent in our entire tenure. And I want to thank Mike Banks for his job as a former Border Patrol agent and now as the Texas border czar. But what our National Guard has done, they have sealed off this entire park and taken it over because this area was being used by the Biden administration to violate the laws of the United States of America. And I said, I will not allow this Texas land to be used by the Biden administration to violate American laws. And I asked the National Guard to take it over, and they did in one day. But this is the important fact. Since they took it over, the number of people that used to come across the border before were 3,000, 4,000, sometimes 5,000 people a day. Now, since this park has been taken over and wired shut, there is on average about 6 or 7 people coming across a day. Most of them are in violation of state law for trespassing, and they are arrested when they come into this park. And so for all practical purposes, this part of the border is sealed. Same goes for where Joe Biden is right now. Where Joe Biden is on the night that Joe Biden lifted Title 42. Brownsville, Texas was ground zero where people were crossing across the border illegally. And immediately, the Texas National Guard wired that shut. So an area during the time of Joe Biden before Title 42 was, or when Title 42 was lifted, there were thousands of people coming across the border. Now there is on average about 14 people crossing the border in that area. And that's because the Texas National Guard has wired it shut. Because we are having to do so much to secure our border, that's exactly why 5 miles south of here, Texas has now launched its own Texas National Guard military base that will house.
Okay, now check this out. There was something I was wanting to talk about before. Back this up just a little bit. Greg Abbott's found funding, and we're building a military base here on the border, and he's talking about it right now. I hate to interrupt him, but I've been wanting to say this for, for almost a month now is when he started doing this, and he's going to give the details of it right here. We're building our own National Guard military base, to stop this crap, y'all. We are putting every effort we can into this to save this nation, not only the state, but this nation.
Its own Texas National Guard military base that will house 2,300 Texas National Guard. So they will be able to more swiftly and more effectively continue to secure our border. And the last thing I'll say is this: unless and until Joe Biden steps up and does his job, that he has the power to do already to enforce the laws of the United States of America, Texas will continue to bus those migrants to sanctuary cities all across the United States of America. But I am very thankful for the model set by President Trump. President Trump showed that when he was in office, he was able to secure the border. And I know that when he is reelected as our president, our border will once again be secured. So thank you, President Trump. At this time, I would like to introduce you to the person leading the effort on behalf of the Texas National Guard, General Seltzer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Texas National Guard remains decisively engaged across 1,254 miles of Texas border. From El Paso down to Brownsville, we are blocking illegal immigration, drug smuggling, weapon smuggling into this state. We do this in depth. We have boats on the river, as you can see. We have drones in the sky. We have a radar truck right over there that can track 300 targets at once. And if they get to the shore, as everyone has just said, they're going to meet miles and miles of barrier. And if they get through the barrier, they're going to meet thousands of Texas soldiers and thousands of DPS troopers who are going to arrest them. So if you are around the world contemplating coming to do an illegal entry into the United States of America, you need to think twice about that. Go somewhere else or don't even begin your journey, because if you get through that wire, we're going to arrest you.
Okay, sure.
Damn commercial. You can't hear what the reporter's asking anyway, but at least it wasn't a Joe Biden commercial.
Sure. Sure. Governor, I'll go and
Sure.
go ahead.
Listen, I would, if Biden were here, I would tell him exactly what I told him when I met him on the tarmac in El Paso. The last time he visited Texas, and on the tarmac in El Paso, I handed him a one-page document that listed all the items I talked about here about the laws that already exist that he can enforce to secure the border. So I handed him that document and also handed it to Secretary Bjorkas, who was there at the time. And I told them there are these 3 simple strategies that you can take right now to secure the border to stop all the madness that's taking place. They said they would take a look at it. I've not heard from them since that time.
In Venezuela, it's a very terrible situation. When I left, they were in very bad shape. We would have done something very easily with them, just like we had a lot of countries in very bad shape. As you know, just to go to a different part of the world, Iran was broke and they weren't going to be attacking Israel. They had no money. They weren't giving it to Hamas. They weren't giving it to Hezbollah. They weren't giving it to anybody. They didn't have it. Now they're a rich country again. They have $250 billion and rich as you can be, and they're handing the money out all over the place. So, a lot of things changed. Venezuela was in bad shape. Now they're in good shape. We actually buy their oil, if you can believe it, and we refine it in Houston. It's the only place where you can refine it because it's really tar, much more so than oil. But we would not be playing games with Venezuela. They would not be doing what they're doing. Now they're sending people, and they just put out a statement last week. We're not taking them back. They're sending their people from jails and prisons and mental institutions, and they say we're not taking them back. That wouldn't happen with the Trump administration, that I can tell you. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the governor and the entire group of people behind me, and I would call them staff, and I would call them representatives and generals. They are unbelievable people. The job they've done so quickly and so effectively, and congratulations. Congratulations to all of you guys. Fantastic job, really, General. Great job. Thank you all very much. Great honor. Thank you. On the what? Well, I hear he's going to be not going to be leader, and he's taken that step. And a lot of people are calling me to politic for that particular job. Would you like to be the leader? I think I might have to choose this guy.
I'd rather be governor of Texas.
I think you're doing well.
I love it. I'd rather be governor of Texas.
No, it's people were surprised by it, but it's all going to work out. We're going to end up with a great leader. Well, I can't say that. A lot of good choices, but I can't say that. Thank you.
There you go. There you go, and that's where it ended. All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad to present that to you tonight. That was live from the border today, the Texas border. And Trump and Governor Abbott and, Border Patrol and everybody telling it like it is. And like I played for you earlier, the guy that was head of the Border Patrol, he got canned, basically, demoted and all that because he was still on the truth. So hang on a second. Let me figure out how to kill this right here. I've got to get away from UB2B. How do I do this? I've never done this before. Let's see. For everybody that went over to YouTube to support the channel, thank you very much. For those of you that are going to watch the replay later on in the future, I'm the Texan. This is the Texan Talks, okay? And I do my best to bring the news to you and the information that you need to know and to bring the truth, okay? Like I said, my opinion is my opinion. Facts are facts. And the news, well, it is what it is. Let's see if I can remove this now. I don't want to delete it.